Hey y'all, hey. I've been feeling like pressed to talk about grief and grief in a different way, like grief before you experience grief of death. And definitely including that, like I've been hesitating because I just hadn't had time to sit down, write out Bible verses, and get my points well thrown out. But I feel like the Lord is stirring it in me, and He has something for me to pour out that could help somebody and help myself included. Grief has just been all around, all around. It has stayed on my mind because I recently lost someone last year in my family, and the new experience with grief at this age has just been, I don't know, it has been a different experience. It has kind of been, heavy, but at the same time, I've been putting my trust back in the Lord. I'm in a different place in my walk than I was several years ago. So it's not overtaking me, but it also rose up this grief of other things that I just didn't realize I was grieving. And I had a talk. My mentor, my spiritual mother, she spoke on it. She did an amazing job. But I just still felt this, it feels like grief is chasing me, like it's lingering around me, because it also feels like death is lingering around, but people are dying every single day. And I think the important message that people should know about, and I think the people, and I'm believing that the people that will come across this video, is to get familiar with grief and grieve the things that you stuffed away. Because I believe grief can be a place that the enemy attacks. It's a place where something else can be birthed. God can show Himself faithful. God can show how the spirit is stronger than the flesh, because it hurts to our flesh, mind, and soul when we lose people. We can't imagine our lives without people, but it's a part of life that, I sometimes can't make sense of, but know it's real. And I think that might not be a unique experience. But what I do have an understanding of, if you don't deal with the things you stuff down inside, grief of a loved one could take you out, because it could take you into a deep, dark depression that you won't come out of. It could take you to a place or back to substances that you don't want to go to, or it could just totally break your mind. I didn't want to say that, but that's the enemy's goal, to kill and destroy. So we have to talk about things like grief and teach each other how to walk through it with the Lord. That doesn't mean you won't have sadness. That doesn't mean you won't have tears. That doesn't mean you won't have depression, but it's by leaning on God that we come out of it. So even the believer, even the Christian that has faith in God and relying on God, I have learned in my own personal life, there's part of our life that we can surrender over to God, and there's other parts that we're holding on to ourselves, and we're trying to work out, and we're trying to muscle ourselves over to Him, when we literally need to hand them to God. And when we do that, sometimes I think it scares us, because our flesh has to be wrung out. That pain has to come out of our body. It cannot live there. So we will cry. We will not act like ourselves. We will not recognize ourselves because, and I say that we recognize. We will not recognize ourselves because we will become something different, but something that God can use for His glory. And so, unfortunately, death is something we'll all experience. We'll go through ourselves, and we'll experience it of every person in our lives. But I think it takes our breath away because we never think about it. We never pray about it. We never grieve the little things. And I mean grieve the job you wanted that you didn't get, the position that you wanted you get, the person you thought you would be but you're not, the marriage that you thought you would have, or the marriage that you thought would be forever. So many things. The kids you thought you would have, but you didn't have. Even if you have a little, like I have boys, but I wanted girls, or I have girls and wanted boys. Grief is a little place, but just like you could have a mustard seed of faith, I believe there's be a mustard seed of something negative that if we don't deal with, the enemy can take hold of it and make it grow. So we really have to be self-aware to a certain extent, not self-obsessed. But no, am I grieving something? When we start to feel things and we start to think, I don't know why I'm acting this way. I don't know why I'm feeling this way. Is it grief? Is it anger? Is it sadness? Is it whatever? And then we have to walk through it, pray through it, put it at the Lord's feet. Seek counseling if God is calling you to that. But I just feel this on me strongly because, there's just the reality of people. Sometimes I think in my life, like, what is life going to be like when they're not here? I dealt with pride in the last year, and I dealt with grief in the first year. And the two things I learned from both of those, grief can be so heavy and it lingers for a long time. Pride is so tricky and we think we know it, but pride is simply relying on ourselves and not relying on God. Thinking we know better than God. Using self over God. So, don't know who this will help or who it is for, but it felt like I needed to pour it out. And I hope it encourages somebody. I pray it helps somebody walk through some things they need to walk through and heal from them. And remember, we are human. Just because we hurt, because we fall in depression, doesn't mean that we're not going to do those things. We just don't want them to overtake us because we're holding on to it and not handing it over to God. You're supposed to cry when people die. Jesus cried for Lazarus, and he was about to raise him from the dead. So that is the human experience. Walk through the human experience. But at some point, it doesn't last forever. God pulls you through it. And I really don't know how you face a lot of these things, but we all will have to face them at some point. So trust God, lean on God, read your word, pray to God, and God bless you.